Yeah, hello, Power. Welcome. Yeah, yeah, so early. Thank you so much for joining us today. So I made you a co-host. So please accept the invitation. And other students will be joining us shortly. So thank you so much for joining us today. So while you wait on the call, other people will join us and we'll start shortly. So we still have 7 minutes before the time. I don't know if you can hear me, Power.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, yeah, we're supposed to have more persons here. Yeah, so Titi Law, sorry, I didn't get your pronunciation. We're sorry. Temitope and Titi Lawyer, please, you can drop on your room chat on Discord. So you have your other colleagues join on the call because I could see that there are other people online on Discord. So please, Temitope and Titi Lawyer, please drop a reminder message so they can join the call because your instructor was even here before you and we've been waiting for you guys to join the call for today. So please, Temitope and Titi Lawyer, please drop a message on Discord so your colleagues can join and we'll have more people for today's class before we kickstart in a few minutes. Thank you. So please do that now. Okay, Michael, sorry, if you can hear me, please, you can start immediately so other people will join in while the lecture is going on. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you too. Yeah, hi guys. Yeah, my name is Michael Gospa. Yeah. I'm a backend developer and I currently work with Gestalt. Yeah, so this evening I'll be taking you through Mongoose and um doing CRUD operation with MongoDB. Um, okay, so I would like to start um with creating a server and also I know you guys have experience or you have knowledge about creating a server with Express or any Node.js framework, and also writing some few lines of code to create API endpoints and the rest. Yeah, so we'll be starting from creating. Okay, we'll be starting from creating a Node.js server and also doing um, CRUD operation using the database MongoDB. And we'll use a library called Mongoose to actually interact with the MongoDB database. With the MongoDB, you would have to interact with MongoDB. You get, if you all know about SQL, like MySQL database management system and Postgres, um, Postgres database, we have some kind of query builders that we use. We call it ORM, object relational mapper. That is actually used to interact with the database so that you wouldn't stress yourself in writing the whole raw SQL languages in order to just fetch or update something. So we're using a Mongoose library to interact with MongoDB. So yeah, so I think we can get started. I would like to share my screen. Okay. Mm. Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yeah,
Okay.
also, please, you can also check the chat. So they'll be dropping their comments on the chat also. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Yeah. So I would like us to start everything from scratch. So we are actually going to create a simple Express server and build everything from scratch. Yeah. So first of all, we are actually going to create a repo. I'm going to create a folder. So you can call it um CRUD operations. MongoDB. Yeah. So you are going to cd into that. And what I'm going to do next is to do npm init. I know you all know about this, right? We're just going to skip all this and go straight to that. Yeah, so as I said earlier, we'll be using certain, we'll be using certain packages. So first of all, I want to install manager installers. So we can use any of them, but I would like to go with Yarn. So I'm going to you're going to install Express. Okay, install Express. Think body parser, if I'm not mistaken. We use course Mongoose. I think yeah. Yeah, so continuing with this, we're going to create our index file. Okay, this is where our server is going to be. So we are going to create our index file. So index.js. Let me spell it. More on the CRUD operations. I think we have to speed up things so that we can finish early, and if any question you can ask. So yeah, so I think I have some already built code that I will just copy and paste. I'll go through all of them so that you understand. I'm just doing this so that we can move faster. Yeah. And I think we need this. Okay. Okay. I think our dependencies, we have all this. We also need this. Okay. Yeah, so next thing is to create our source folder. Okay. Now I know I know you have been taking through this, but I'm going to go through it again. Okay, so over here it is our index folder. As you can see, I separated the server, the main server from the app from the server. Okay, so this is the server. This is actually what is running or spinning up the server to listen to a particular port. Yeah, and this file contains what is actually going to build the app and export it. So over here, you can see that we are using ES6, the ES6 imports. So in order for us to use this ES6 imports, we actually have to specify it over here. I think you have to use type module so that it can actually understand that we are using, because you know that Node.js by default it comes with the old ECMAScript script models, so we can't actually use the imports and export global variables. You can just do maybe const whatever variable and is equal to require, you get. Yeah, but since we want to use import and exports, that's the ESS models, we have to actually specify our type model here. Yeah, so right now we have our server. Okay, so as you can see over here, this is our server. Okay, and I'm requiring the server over here. But over here we have it as index.js. Sorry, index.js. So you just have to change this to index.js. Yeah, and we are, if you want to set your environmental ports to a specific port, you can do that by doing this. And this is actually going to normalize the ports in case it's not a valid port. It throws an error. You get, yeah. So yeah, so if you like, you can actually set your ports if you want. If you don't, you can just maybe set it here. So this is actually going to check from the .env file. But over here, we don't have any .env file, so it's going to pick this one. Okay, so this actually tells us that if this is undefined or now, it should pick the one at the right side. So I think this is an ES6 ES6 view, something like that. Yeah, so we have this minor thing over here. So what this does is that it actually so you know sometimes the server can just stop. Okay, and with Node.js it doesn't actually handle that. You see, Node.js, you have to handle everything manually. So when the server is about to shut down, you can actually, what you should actually do is to try to prevent any incoming requests. Okay, so that no more requests will come. And also, if there is any request that is already in process or processing, okay, the request will complete process and return the response before it actually shut down. I don't think you will like it when you make a request to a server and all of a sudden the server is down. Yeah, so you would like that process to complete each process before it shuts down. Yeah, so that's what we mean by graceful shutdown. Yeah, so our next thing we are going to do now is to connect our database. That's one important thing. Yeah, so connecting the database, I think I have a file here that can help us with that. Yeah, so over here we have our DB connection. Okay. Yeah, so we have a database connection. So you can see from here we are importing Mongoose from Mongoose. That's, I think we have it in our packet.json. We are importing Mongoose. And inside the Mongoose, okay, we have a property called connect. I think it's actually a function that takes the Mongo URI. And this is how the Mongo URI looks like. Let me show you here. So this is how the Mongo URI looks like. So we have the MongoDB that actually points to the server. Okay. Over here, we are using a database server, not HTTP server or a WebSocket server. This is a database server, and this is how you reference pointing to like a MongoDB server. And obviously, we are using the local hosts, and by default, MongoDB listens to these ports. So 27017 is the port number, and your database name. I think that's basically it. So you can come here and create a new file called .env. Yeah, and paste. So for this database name, you can call it anything you want, but I like to call it my DB. Yeah. So what next we are going to do here is to actually, okay, so in this file, we have a class called MongoDB connection. Okay, we have our constructor. So we have initialized this MongoDB URI. So this MongoDB URI, okay, is going to be picked from here. So we are saying const MongoDB URI is equal to, you should pick it from the .env file, which is this. Okay, and what this thing is going to do is to actually pass the MongoDB URI to this class. So since a class, we have to call it with the new keyword so that it creates an instance of the class. So this is an instance of the class. So we can just do MongoDB connection.connect so that it actually connects. So looking at this, our index.js, you can see we are using it here. And this MongoDB connection.db connect is a class instance. And this DB connection is the method inside the class. Okay, so we can call this, and when we start our app, it actually connects to the server. And yeah, we can move from there. So, yeah, so what next? So what next is our routes. Okay, our route that we need to use. I also have this file over here. I think that will actually help us. Yeah, so we have our routers here. Okay. Yeah, so today, of course, we are going to do some normal CRUD with MongoDB. So I think I'll make it simple enough. So we are actually going to have only two routers. Okay, one for an ATA and the other for a book. Okay, so I'm just going to make the change so that it reflects. So rename it to book router.js. We have our to users router.js. Yeah, so I'm going to delete the rest. We don't actually need them. To trash. Yeah, so this index.js. So inside our book router, we will define our router. Yeah, and how we want it to be. So each router is going to have delete, get, post, put, and the rest. That indicates the CRUD. Okay. Now the CRUD is for create, read, update, and delete. Our next thing we're going to have is our model.
Sorry.
Yeah. Hello.
You can hear me. Please. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Okay, please. If it's possible, can you increase your font on your VS code so we could see your code.
Okay, I should increase
Yes,
my font.
I can. I said if it's possible, can you put code?
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes, your font. Yes, we can't see it.
Can I see
Thank
it now?
you.
Hello, can I see it now? Hello, can you see my font? Hello?
Okay, hello, Gospel. I don't know if you can hear me, please. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I can't see your screen. Your screen is blank. I don't know if it's from my end.
Oh, okay, let me share, let me stop.
Okay, someone just indicated. I think it's from my end. So please, you can continue. Okay, they said I can
Okay,
see. Yeah, I think I have to check my network. Thank you,
okay.
guys.
Okay, so yeah. So I think we are talking about the model, right? So okay, so I have a file that's is the screen okay? The way I zoom it, I don't know if you can see it. If it's okay, let me know. If it's not okay, I can increase it.
Okay, guys, can you guys see? Can you see VS code clearly? Can you see its code base clearly? Please, if you can, please indicate so you can continue. Okay, yes, they can. You can continue, please.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, so we have to define our models. So our model is something we can define models like a schema. Okay, a schema is like a blueprint representative of something. Okay, so the way we have a database, in every database, we have the table, the columns, and the rest. So but in MongoDB, it's not actually called table. Okay, we call it schema. Okay, and um inside a schema, every schema contains a document. So the whole collection of a schema is the document, and inside the document we have our properties. Okay, so I'm also going to change the name of this thing over here. So I think we will have our book schema. So book model, you can either call it schema or model. It's okay. Yeah. And we have our I think we already have a user model here, so we can just delete these two. Yeah. So we can just lay these two. Yeah, I think we are good. A function, okay, that actually um we have these routers over here, right? These routers, okay. Now this thing is called a controller, okay, and in every controller it takes three parameters. That's in Node.js, it or Express. It takes the request, the response, and also the next. So the request property actually contains the request body object. So the request body object is the object that the request is coming from. So if let's say there's I make an API call to a backend route, okay, it actually comes with a request body, and the response body is what you the server sends as a response to the client, okay, or the front end. Then the next actually calls the next middleware if there is any. So let me show you an example. Call a middle, but you can, yeah, it is like to call a, but I think we like to call it middleware because it is in the middle. Yeah. So now this middleware, this is the auth middleware. So this middleware, okay, if you watch over here, please don't mind what is happening here, okay. So this is actually just trying to check if there's any authorization in the header, and if there is, then it authorizes the person. If there is none, then it returns an error and all those stuff. Yeah, but we can see what is happening here. We are calling a next function. So as I said earlier, every handler, okay, that is called against a route contains three parameters: the request, the response, and the next. So this request is an object. This request is a property that contains the request objects. So where the request is coming from, and this response is actually sending a response to wherever the request is coming from. And this next function calls the next handler. So this next function over here, if you watch, it will call this. Actually, let me just move this thing. It will call this next handler, which is delete list controller. So if everything goes on well here, it calls this. That's what the next function is doing there. Okay. Yeah. I like to actually, arrange my folders very well. So I'll create a source folder. Okay. And push all these things inside here. I think that's a good practice, especially if you are applying for jobs, these remote kind of jobs, and they give you a test to do. They don't just want to see, they don't just want to see how your code works. They also want to see how, let me mistake here. Okay, so they don't just want to see how your code works. Okay, they also want to make sure that you are your things are arranged nicely. Okay, so if your files and folders are not arranged very well, it's a big red flag. So you have to take note of that. Okay, yeah. No mistake here. Okay. Yeah. So I would have to copy everything again. Sorry. Uh, the models, right? You can see how organized the folders are. Okay, so this node models actually contains the packages we are going to use. So whenever you install a package, okay, from whatever it is coming from, it actually have a blueprint over here. Yeah, and this is our bin folder. Yeah, so this is basically like, a structure that almost everyone uses, even not just Node.js applications, but any other frameworks like Django. If you watch them, they have, or Laravel, they have this kind of SRC folders and other stuff. Yeah, so the reason why we actually do this, so this is the app itself, okay, and this is the server. The reason why we actually separate the app from the server in Express is that we do this so that we can, whenever you're writing unit tests, there's something we call unit tests. Unit tests, you write some tests to actually test whatever you have done, the work you have done. Yeah. So whenever we are doing that, whenever we want to do that, okay, we can reference the app and create a server that the test can run without actually interfering with the main server. That's why we separate the app from the server. You get it? Yeah. Sometimes you can ask these questions in interviews. And yeah, so as I was saying, I got to the controller part. So
Okay, I think your
create a
network is
controller.
breaking.
Okay.
Gospel, I don't know if you can
So
hear me.
we need to create a controller. Yeah. Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello, Gospel. Sorry, we cannot hear you. If you can hear me, we can't
Yeah,
hear you. So I don't
yeah,
know if you can log out, like join again, or
okay.
and it's breaking at some point. I can hear you now, but I could not hear you earlier. So I don't
Yeah,
know how you could check your network.
yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So can I continue?
Yes, you can continue.
Yeah. Can you also see my screen?
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So yeah. So I was talking about the controller, and I explained it earlier. So lastly, we are going to create something we call services. As I said, I like to organize my things well. So this controller, okay, handles requests and throws a response to whoever is making the request. This DB connection is a folder that handles our database connection. This models is what handles or what describes the model we are going to use to interact with, and these are our router itself, like what's where we define our routes, and this is where we define our service. So our services actually do um the dirty work, like reading from the database, updating, deleting, and the rest. You get, yeah. So yeah, so we are going to start by actually running this app. I think our main is, yeah. So we're going to use NodeMon. Okay, we are using NodeMon so that we can actually watch the files. Like when there's a change, it's update automatically. And we start server. You might get some errors. Yes, I knew that. Yeah. So let's actually handle these errors. And do we have our boost router? Yeah. So finally, everything is okay. We are listening to port 8081 and yeah, the rest. So I think we can start, creating our models and other necessary stuff. So as I said earlier, we're going to play around two models. We have our book model, and we can also have our user model. Yeah. So with our book model, so this is our book model. So we have our user model. So with our user model, I think we have defined some one or two things. We can actually take away certain things like the password. We don't need it because we're not going to create any password. Actually, we don't need this. Yeah, we don't need this thing also. So this timestamp, okay, this thing over here, it's actually defined inside. What it does is that it automatically adds two properties called updated at and updated at and created at. Okay, so I think I would have to change this database name because we are already using it. I think it is one, so we can change it to something else. Let's say CRUD MongoDB or something. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So our book model, we can actually define certain things over here that we need. So maybe you can define the book name. That's the name of the book. The type will be a string, definitely. We are going to require. So the required will be true. Okay. So what this basically means is that we are defining our schema. Okay. So like in SQL, we have table. So this thing will be our table name, and this is going to be our columns. Okay. So book name is like a column. This is a column. And you can have maybe other stuff. I don't know. Maybe you guys can help me with some properties of a book. So we can have okay, so you can see over here we have something we call user. Okay, right now we are referencing this user. There's a trick over here. We are actually referencing this user model. Okay, because every book belongs to a user. You get it? So we are going to reference this user model. Okay, and in order to reference user model in MongoDB, you have to specify something we call ref and the model name. So this model name is what we are registering over here. It's called user. You get, and we are referencing that user. So we are telling this schema that for this user, we are going to reference the user model and pass the type. So in MongoDB, normally the underscore, we have something we call ID. Every data, okay, is identified by an ID. Yeah, so in SQL database, they use incremental numbers. So like numbers starting from 1, 2, 3 to identify each data in a table. Okay, so when you create a table, whatever data that is contained in this, inside that table has an incremental value, and each property is called an ID. Okay, so when you create something and you store it into the database, it will start counting 1. You create another one, it will count 2. Yeah, in that order. But in MongoDB, you can as well define your own incremental ID, but by default they use something we call object ID. Yeah, so the object ID is some kind of is some kind of mixture between a UU. There's something we call a UUID, universal ID, that actually that is generated using the timestamp. So it's generated using timestamp and some kind of hash. So it's a kind of algorithm, okay, that is generated with time. So it is always unique. Okay. So you realize that over here, by default, would have an ID. So you don't even need to specify it. In MongoDB, it is not like this. It is rather this underscore ID. Yeah, but it actually adds it to it automatically. So you don't even need to specify it. You get it? Yeah, so I will need more property if any of you have what can have author. Yeah. So the author I'm talking about, thank you. Okay. Author name. Okay. Yes. We can also have this. Yeah, you can have this. So maybe required will be false. Shouldn't be required. You can, if like, you can also make it required. The type should be a string. The type should be a string. Yeah, so the author, thank you. Right now, okay, the author, we can make the author a user. They are all the same, right? Because we have the users table here. So the author can be the user. So we can change this name to as a user. It's still the same thing, but we are referencing the user what model. We get it. Yeah. And we will have the pages. Thank you very much. Thank you. So we have required force, and the type should also, okay, the type should pages, right? The type should be a number, right? Yeah. The type should be a number. Anything else? Okay, and the title. And the title required. I think the title should be required. The pages should also be required. And the title, obviously, the type would be a type string. So you can see anytime I make changes, the server will restart and, yeah. So you can see database connection established, meaning that our database is connected peacefully without any string or anything. Okay. Let's check what is actually happening to our database. Okay. Okay, so what is happening here is that, let me see. It seems like we don't have our database URI. Okay, so what we're going to do here, we are going to install a package called .env. So the .env actually loads the environmental variables into your projects. We have other ways of doing that, but I prefer this. So yeah, .env. So we are going to import .env over here. Import .env from .env. Okay, we can have our constant bracket equal to, sorry, .env. We have our config. So what we have to do is just call this config. It's a function. So when we call it, it will do the trick. So you can see the error has left. So the URI parameter to, you see that we had this error here, the URI parameter to must be a string. Make sure your first parameter. So it was actually not reading these things for this environmental variable from the .env file. Yeah, so after installing the .env and require it over here, I realized that it was able to read it, and now we don't have that error again. So right now it is listening on port 8081, and now we have our database connection established. Yeah, so we can also declare our port over here and tell it that we are going to use port 8000. With this, we actually have to restart the server. Yeah, so it's listening to port 8000. So you can define your port in your .env file. This thing over here actually goes there and pick it. Goes there to pick it from the .env file and loads it. So instead of using 8081, it uses port 8000. Okay, so yeah. Okay. Yeah, so what next? What next? So we have defined our, is anybody? Okay. Is the title not the same as the book name? Well, it's just a property we are defining, so maybe you can just give it anything. Okay. Thanks for the suggestion. I didn't see that earlier. Yeah, so apart from .env, we have other packages that we can use to actually load this env file stuff. We have other, there's a lot. You can also do it manually from this package.json file. We can just define it here, but I don't think you would like to do that. Yeah, so I think, yeah, so we can now come to the services. So we're going to create books. So first of all, we're going to do create book services .js. So what I'm going to do is actually export a function called create book. Okay. So this is what I think this is an arrow function. I think you guys should know about this. Yeah. And we are actually going to import our book model. Yeah, I think we have to define our book well, right? So that you don't see funny things. Book schema, and we have to register this book schema, definitely. So we can call this one book. Book. Yeah, I think we are good. So let's go back to our services. Think we'll move a little bit fast from here. Yeah. So creating a book, definitely we will accept certain parameters or certain, arguments. We can call it book details. Book details. Okay. So you can also do this. So const new book. You can say new book is equal to. I'm actually going to use a sync and await. Okay. Await book dot. So this book is an instance of the Mongoose model, and it comes with different properties. So we can actually get the create properties from here. So this create actually creates a book. So you pass in the book details, and it will actually create a book. You get it? Yeah. So then what we can do here is to return the new book. Yeah, you can actually return the new book. So maybe after creating the book, maybe we wouldn't want to see certain properties like the book ID. You can specify that over here. Okay, but I don't think we like to do that now. So let's continue with that. Is anybody saying something? Okay. Yeah, so I said it earlier. I think before we started the call, if you listen very well. The yarn is the same as MPM, of course, but I like to use yarn because yeah. Yeah, so the yarn.log file normally, like, you see that this yarn.log file is very important, especially when a package has been upgraded. Okay. It's actually there so that when maybe someone has installed a package that is way ahead or maybe has been upgraded. Okay, with the yarn.log file, it won't install that package the person has installed has already installed into the project. It will just install the one your project can use so that it wouldn't be breaking some of your codes, because sometimes someone can actually install like a package that has been upgraded. Maybe the code you have written doesn't support that. Yeah, that's one of the advantage of this yarn.log file. I think you can read more on that. Yeah, we also have the yarn error.log. So if there's any error, maybe in installing a package, you can get them here and actually know what is actually happening. So you can see, I tried to install body parser and it was telling me that it's not found. Yeah. And, oh, okay, sorry. Okay, so let's continue. So the next thing I'm going to do is create book. We're also going to create user.js. So we're actually going to do the same thing. Import from web models / users.js. We have our user model over here. We can export const user create user is equal to, so we have our user details. So as I said, we're going to use a sync and await. Okay, and of course, new user is equal to user.create No details. User details. Okay, I'll share it. Yeah, I'll share it. Yeah, I think after I'm done, I'll actually push it and share. But I also have other ones. But if you want this one, I can share this one with you. Yeah. We can return this new user. Okay. We have our create for both services, for both user and so we can do update book.js. We can do update user.js. Okay, so let's do for the updates. So we can import from the book model. So export const update book is equal to our async.
I didn't understand that.
Sorry. Our async function that will take maybe book updates. Okay, so we are actually going to do some trick here. So to update a book, we have several methods that. But first of all, what I like to do is to actually get the ID of the book. Okay, so we are updating so that we can check if the ID exists in the database before actually updating the book. So what you can do here is to actually get ID, get book, or maybe you can check book anyhow you want to do it. And so from here you can pass the ID of the book. So you can structure out the ID of the book updates, because that's going to be an object, right? The user dot find by ID. Okay, this is a very good practice. Find by ID, the underscore ID. So you can check if there's get book. So we can check if there is a book actually there. Okay. The reason why I did this get book end. You can just do get book, but the reason why I did this is in JavaScript, okay, an empty object will return true. I don't know if any of you know that. Yeah, but an empty object will return true. An empty array will also return true. So sometimes you would have to actually check if there is a property inside the object. Yeah. An empty object will always return true. You have to bear that in mind. So sometimes if you are checking these things and if get book, since you think it will return something, it can return an empty object. Anything can happen. So you would want to be sure that whatever you are getting is is something valid. Yeah. So if get book, then you can just update it. Okay, update the book. You can just call update one. Okay, pass in the filter parameter. And the second option, you take the book details you want to update. So sorry. Yeah. So this is actually the book details like you want to update. That's if any. Okay, this is actually the book details you want to update. And yeah. But else if there's no book, you can just throw an error. Through new error. Book not found. Okay. Yeah. So we also have the same for the update user. Same thing for the update user. Then we can also have the same for the update user. User update. So yeah, so the same thing, you check if there is a book. Sorry, there's a user. If there's no user, there's no way you can, doesn't make sense for you to even update it in the first place. So user not found. And then our next thing will be what to get. So get books and also get what users. And yes. Someone have any question? Okay, no question. I hope you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah. So we also have, so we have this, so we can import our users model, right? From here, our user model, and export a service function. So get, maybe you can do it all books. Okay. So this function is actually going to get all the book in the user database. I think so. Okay. Yeah, since you are getting all books, I don't think we would have to. Sorry, since you are getting all users, I don't think we would actually have to do this. Pass any parameter. Okay. Yeah. So what you can do here is to get the users await user. So the property in getting users is user.find. If you want to get all users. So this actually returns an array of all the users. Okay. Yeah, and you can do some more things over here. You can sort by a particular property. Maybe you can sort by email, you can sort by first name, you can sort by last name, whatever you want. Yeah. So maybe you can sort by first name if that's what you want. I don't know if I'm right. So actually, this one indicates sorting in ascending order. A negative one indicates sorting in descending order. Yeah. But that's not what we came here for. So we can just ignore it. So we return get users. Get users. Yeah, get users. So same applies to our getting all the books. So just change this to get all books. Then we have our book over here. Get rid of this one. So it will get books, right? Or we can filter by something else. Anything over here, maybe you can filter by pages in descending order. Okay. The second order. You can also select so this select function, you can specify what you want to select from the property. And I don't think maybe in getting all the books, you actually need the ID. Maybe you don't need the ID, you can do this. Once you do this, negative, minus, so it means it's going to pick everything except the underscore ID. So return get books over here. Okay, so if there are no books, you just return an empty array. And the last thing I'm going to do is to delete. Yeah. So delete books. But yes. Okay, and delete users dot js. So we are going to import same thing. Our user model. Then then define our service. I'm going to call it delete user. We're going to pass our user details, right? So this is an async function. Okay, so we're actually going to do the same thing. Find and check if there is a user with that kind of ID. So we are going to actually destructure this and pass rest. I'm going to count for the user details. Const delete user is equal to, I'm going to await. Oh, sorry. So we're actually going to find the user. So find user first. I'm going to await user that find by ID. So if find user and find user dot underscore ID. If there's actually something inside there, we're going to do what we're going to do is actually to delete what the user. So we use the delete one property. Okay. And pass in the filters. So our filter, we are actually going to target the underscore ID. I hope you guys understand this thing. Why I passed on the ID alone. If you don't understand, I can explain it to you. Thank you. And I also pass in the rest. Okay. So if there's no user, maybe it can throw an error. What is that? Can throw any kind of error you want. Yeah. So yeah, so like I think in the normal sense, you would like to actually do this thing like in an I think in a service file, like find a model that find whether a model exists or not. Okay, so maybe you can do something like this. Maybe document exists .js. I think this is a very, very good practice. Okay, so over here we are going to export this const. Maybe check if document exists. Okay, it's equal to sync. Yeah, So right here, just passing the model in our what? In our query. Okay. So what you're going to query by, if it's by ID, we pass it. You get it? Yeah. So over here, check if document exists. Maybe we can just do this exist is equal to await you know, model dot find one. Okay, dot find one. So this is actually going to be an object. Okay, so we can do if exists. Can change it to document. You can use something more descriptive. Document and document dot underscore ID. So we can just do this. So if there's nothing there, if this is empty, think, or this will be more reasonable. If this is empty, we can throw an error saying that no document found, or you can just reference the user model by using this backtick. So you can do like this, no into bracket. You know, model or something like this found. I don't know how you want it to be. Yeah, but I'm just going to leave it this way. No documents found. And if something is actually there, then return true. Okay. So instead of throwing an error here, we can just return false. So we come here. So in order to make everything here clean, we just pick away this things over here. So we await, check if document exists, pass in the model, which is our user model, and our query. Okay. So we're actually going to query by the ID. So we pass that in the structure our ID, the user. Yeah, so you can actually see how clean this is. So you can just check if this is that. And yeah, okay. So we can still maybe throw our error if you want, so that we wouldn't waste our time doing. So yeah, this looks more cleaner. Yeah. So this is actually checking if any document. So this function handles for any kind of model. So it can be for a user model, book model, any kind of model you create. So we check if document exists before actually doing something. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So is this clear? Like what I'm doing right now? Is it very clear? Yeah. Okay, let's continue. If it's not clear, let me know. So I'll explain. a bit clear. It's not that clear. Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool. So we also have this over here. Um, I think we can make a change here also, right? The same thing applies over here. Where we have our late book, our book details. So we'll check if what document is. So here we'll pass our book. No, get rid of this. We don't need it. And yeah, can delete one. We don't actually need this thing. Over here. Yeah. Yeah, we don't need this because you're actually deleting. So you only filter by ID and delete what is there. You get it. Yeah. And update. I think inside our update, we will also need to do that. Inside our update. So I wait, check if document exists for passing whatever we need to pass in. Yeah, to update the book. Then yeah, same thing applies here. I wait, check if document actually exists. Person or user, then remove. Yeah. So I hope all this thing is clear. So this is just a basic CRUD using MongoDB and other stuff. Yeah, but there's something I missed over here. Realize that in the book model, okay, we are referencing our user. Okay. So that's which is our author. There's something we call populate in MongoDB. Sorry, in Mongoose. Mongoose actually has a model property called populate. So if you are referencing a document, so if you're referencing a schema from another schema, okay, and referencing it, you actually represent it by the ID. So what you get literally is the ID. But maybe you would like to get the entire user inside the book object. So what you can do is to actually populate. So we can call something we call populate over here. That will actually populate the words, the author field with the user's details. Is it clear? Yeah, because if you don't do this, what we are going to see here is the book ID. Sorry, the author user ID. We're just going to see the object ID. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, if you don't understand something, you can. Don't worry. After we'll go through. Okay. So what next is actually to create our models for all this. So I'm actually going to create a single model it can be a class by anything. I'm just going to create maybe user controller .js, and also, sorry, yeah, and also a book controller, sorry, .js, yeah, and we're going to export all the CRUD we are doing, I think, over here. Okay. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is, first of all, we can export. There are so many ways to do this. Okay, you can do it any way you like. You can create an object, a book object, export it, and actually use it as your controller. But I'm actually going to export the functions one by one. Yeah, so our first thing is to get all books. It is going to be an async. Now, we are going to get all books, I think. So get all books. This will be what? Delete book. This one will be update book. And the last one will be delete get update. Create book. Yeah, and this same goes to the users. Yeah, so I said something earlier that with a router, okay, there's every route has a handler that calls it. And in this controller, we would have to pass 3 parameters, which I said requests, response, you see, and finally would have our next function. But yeah, don't actually need it. It's just there for fun. So you copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, and what's paste. I like to actually use a try catch here to catch any error in case, because maybe in the services there might be errors that will be true. Okay, and not just the services, errors can be thrown anywhere. So I think you would like to do this in order to catch any errors, whether from the database connection or anything. When you call this out, this controller will actually handle the error catching of the errors. Okay. Yeah. So we can do this same here. And we can also do this. You have to, sorry. Yeah, so with that being said, let's continue. So we can actually call the services over here. You get, so we can say get users is equal to I'll wait. So you have access, get user, get all users. Okay. So it's just like we have two names and it might be conflicting, but there's always a way to go about this. So we can import our clicks, get users or JS. So we are importing our get users and actually call get all users here. Yeah, we can do this trick. Okay. Yeah. So we can have our users here. Yeah, that's all. Yeah. So it's either we can export a default and import it as a default, or we just have to change this name to get the authors. Any question? Okay. There's no question. Then this what I was trying to do work on the TypeScript. But we're not doing TypeScript here. So okay. Get authors. So actually we're not passing anything. Okay. So we can return. Yeah. We can return response dot status 300 dot JSON. We have our users data users. Yeah. For our delete user, I don't know if you have the same name. Yeah, the same name. You can actually change the name to delete data. And that will be reasonable enough. That we didn't have conflict with. Okay. So I'll wait delete author. So over here, we are going to get our ID from our params. We are actually going to pass a param. So request.params. So this is how to get params in Express. Okay, request.params, get your params. Then we're also going to get our body, which is what request.body. Yeah. And oh, sorry. So right here, we are actually deleting this. Okay. So all you need to do is to pass this. our underscore ID. And I think we are okay. We should be good to go. So in updating the user, yeah. So same thing. I think update user. So you can just, when you call it, update pattern. Okay, and here, so we're going to pass our underscore ID as a param in the params. Get it over there. And the cons is the body pertaining what, sorry, we actually want to update. Okay, and lastly, we have our user details. User details is equal to. So we can have our underscore ID and our body params. So that we can just pass in our user details. Yeah. Yeah, but yes, so yeah, but there is something I think off here. We could actually pass a third parameter because in MongoDB, okay, when you're updating something, it doesn't actually it will update it and store it in the database, but it doesn't return it. Okay, it doesn't return the updated version of what has been or whatever has been updated. You get it? So what you can do here is to pass maybe a third parameter and say you want new. So the new we say true. So this is going to return the newly updated version of the document. You get it? Yeah, return updated. Sorry, updated user. I don't know whether you get it. Yeah. So over here, we can just do return user, return response dot status. Yeah, status will be 200. You can say 200 dot JSON. JSON data will be data and user. You get, yeah. So these are our updated user. Yeah, and we can also do some selection if you want. You can select, you can just specify what you want. So right now, I don't want the underscore ID to be part. So I'm just going to do this. Okay. Yeah. And what happens over here is that yeah, so we send this, and in case there's any error, we can actually tell. So normally with errors, we return 500 code, like server errors by default. Yeah, but of course, you can always specify. You can always specify whatever you want. Error, then maybe the message would be error dot message. So you can just copy this one and paste it over here, and paste it over here, and paste this one to over here. Yeah, over here too, we are also creating our new user. So in creating our new user, so we can just specify a new user is equal to I'll wait. Create user. Create user. So create author, right? But I think we are using the same name inside the controller. So create author. And we just pass in our request.body. That's what we want to pass. And we return our response.status. We're going to use 201. 201 means created. Then our data and new user. Yeah, a lot has been done. Yeah, so same thing happens for the book controller. So yes, I'm actually just going to copy and paste so that you don't waste time. Delete all books. Delete all books. Delete books. Update book. And lastly, we have create book. Yeah, so we are just going to change this stuff over here. Yeah, so instead of get all books, right? Okay. But yeah, do you understand this? What I did over here? Do you understand this? So right now you can see we have a method called get all books, and whatever the service that we are trying to import over here is also called get all books. So in order to override it or alias it, you can do get all books as this so that it uses this instead of this. Do you get it? Because if you use get all books, which is over here, it will reference this, which I don't think we want that. Yeah. Yeah, so you can do same over here. So actually, yeah, so let me also show you one trick. So you can just do index.js, okay, and you actually export everything from, sorry, the current, get all this. So for now, I'm just going for getting all weeks, right? LDS. update book.js. The last one will be delete books.js. Yeah. So what I'm going to do here is, instead of doing all this, I'm actually going to import everything from index.js. So get all books, delete book. So instead of me importing one by one, I can just create this file, export everything over here. Okay, export everything over here, so that I can just reference it straight instead of doing all the stress in it. So that's another trick you can also use. Sorry, I've used a bit of this. I think create, right? Create book. Yeah, so you can just reference as get books. So I can just use them at maybe their book. Yes, maybe author book. And the last one as new book. You get, do you understand what is happening here? I wish, so we just change this and pass our ID. Same thing applies here. Author book, you are updating. We pass our ID here and pass our book details that we are updating. We have our book. We also have this new book. Yeah, so I hope this doesn't run any error. Yeah, but the update book, I think there's something missing we are supposed to do. We've not done this. So we can return our updated book. So we can pass in the third parameter, okay, which is new. So we specify as true. So that whatever you update, it actually returns it along. Oh, okay. Yeah, so, and I also think we would like to so after we have updated, we would like to do some kind of selection or something like that. I don't know where this is coming from. What is it coming? Oh. Oh. So we would like to populate, our author so that it can return everything. And I also like to select the underscore ID and just return the updated book. Yeah, that was cool. Thank you. Yeah, that is something programming is very nice. Just how to understand what you are doing. And I think you are good to go. I think there's a conflict here. So you can call this you can see save book. So that's, yeah, I think this is cool. Yeah, so our final thing we can do now, final thing is to define our routes. Yeah. So of course, we're going to have a post. We're going to have a get. We are going to have delete. Then finally, we will have updates. Updates can be patch or put. Sorry. Yeah. So for our book, in our book router, our posts, we can define it as slash maybe book. Then we have our controller. Okay. Yeah, so we can actually do this. So that same trick I told you about, we can do same here. Index.js. We can do export everything. So it exports everything from the file. From that file we are referencing to. So book controller export everything from slash user controller. Yeah. So we come to our router and see, sorry, import everything from controller. So right now we are using our controller. Okay. So we can have our thing. Let me see. There's a mistake here. I have our Facebook, right? Yeah, so we can have our create book. We can have our delete book. We can have our get all books. We can also have our update book. So this one is actually going towards create book. Our next parameter is to get all book. So we're going to get all books. Our next parameter, our next one will be to delete a book. But yeah, member would have to pass some kind of ID. So we specify that, and delete the book. Then lastly, we can also, since we want to update, we also have to pass the ID to update book. Yeah, so this same thing happens to the user. So we have our slash user. So we can just copy this and paste it here. So we have the update user, delete user, get all users, and create user. So our first post will be to create a user. Yeah. To get all users. Delete user. Lastly, update user. Yeah, so I think we are done. So I think the deletes and the updates, we have to pass our ID. Yeah, then we are done. So yeah, so right now we can actually test our app to see if we are not actually doing anything wrong. Okay, yeah. So this is a tutorial that's, I think, even with this server thing I'm even doing, I'm supposed not to do it. But I just wanted to start the API thing and like the craft thing, like from scratch and all that stuff. So I think with this, with what you're talking about, that's where you do the kind of authentication and all that stuff. But we are not doing that now. So maybe I don't know who, if someone has taken you through that one, but yeah, there's a way to do that. You can actually authenticate, where you provide a token for each user that has signed in, so that only users that um that owns that particular book or that owns that particular resource can actually do some kind of changes or alter certain things to it. You get, yeah. But what we are doing now is just understand how we are going to read for a database. So it's like an open thing. Yeah. So we are not going to use any authentication and all these things. So I think, yeah. So maybe in future you want to do that, you can also do that. That's a way to actually go about it. Yeah. That's the authentication and the authorization and all the rest. But we are just okay. So yeah, I think I'll be testing with Postman. Okay, yeah, okay, this socket.
Okay, Gospel, I think we can't hear you. And I don't know if it's a network, but your postman is still loading up. Okay, yeah, guys, I think it's network. So apologies for taking over almost an hour. So we'll be wrapping up soon. So if you join us on the call, I think he has network issue. If you can hear me, please just indicate on the chat. Hope you guys are enjoying the class, please. Just indicate, please. So we'll be rounding up shortly. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think my network
Yeah, we
went off.
lost you for a bit. We lost you for a bit.
Yeah. Can you also see my screen? Let's see. Okay. Okay. I know how to post this.
Okay, yeah, Gospel, your postman is not
Yeah,
loading. I don't know if it's your network, but it's blank. So we can't see anything on your postman.
yeah, I'm trying to do this. I think it is loading now. Yeah, it's working. Yeah, so can you guys see my postman?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so let's continue. Okay, so testing this. Okay, actually I'm listening to a local hotspot, but 8,000. Yeah, so HTTP. Okay, so yeah. um, Okay, so can continue from here. Um,
Okay, I think it disconnected again. So it's going to reconnect and join us. But if you have any question, you can just drop it on the chat. Sorry, Gospel, I don't know if you can hear me. We lost you at some point. Okay, I don't know if I'm the only one. So, guys, if you can hear him, I can't hear him. So, please, if you can hear him, just indicate.
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, we could not hear you at a point.
Okay.
Yes. You can also check the chat too. Also.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, so right now we are actually going to create a book. Sorry, a user. So we're going to, look at this endpoint. And let's see if we are going to get an error from there. We'll actually fix it. Yeah. So inside the book, our user model, we specify that we need our email. Yeah, but I forgot to also mention, you can also do validation for this. Yeah, we have some packages for validation. I think I'll share with you guys later. Let's concentrate on this. Our last name. Our last name, then yeah, I think that's it. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, so right now, so as you can see, you realize that we have these errors over here. Okay, so these errors are basically from directly from the database that we are connected to. This is a model. Okay, so we have to figure out what this errors is about. Yeah, so it's saying that we're not passing the first name. Okay, so let's figure it out together. So sort of look. Yeah, okay, so I think I misspelled it. Yeah, so instead of first name, I wrote something else. Okay, so it's created. Yeah, so as you can see from here, we have created our new user. You have the email, first name, last name, you have the underscore ID. So this timestamp is what I illustrated earlier. That is this. Yeah. And maybe we can. So we have this ID over here. Okay. And maybe we would like to create our book. That is so important to create. So we can also create our book. Okay, this one to post. Book. Yeah, so from our book, the things that we need to pass, I think for our book model, what we need to pass, book name, title. So we have our book name here. Okay, and the book name, can call it any book. So this is just a dummy, my book. And we have, oh, sorry. We have our author. Okay, so why our author is actually going to be, this ID, because that's what it will be expecting. If you pass anything apart from that, it will throw an error. Yeah, because we are referencing the user's schema. You get it? Do anyone understand? Oh, okay. Well, body parser is not duplicated. Let me check. Let's be sure. Yeah, body parser is not duplicated because I think they even have TypeScript for body parser. So I don't know if you have used TypeScript before. If body parser is actually duplicated, I don't know why they should get TypeScript for it. I think it's still there. Let me see. So if you check the repository, you see 9 days ago, it was updated 9 days ago. So I don't think it was duplicated. Yeah. Yeah, so let's continue. We have the general. And I have to pass something here. You programmers, you don't have time to think about what to write. You just have time to. Before this. Then the title. So I'm actually going to use data here title. Yeah, so I think let's pray that it works. Yes, it works. It actually worked. So yeah, so we are going to actually hit the other endpoints to get all books. Yeah, so you can actually create more books. My book two, one with the same kind of details. If you want, you can actually create more books for that. Yeah. So you can get the book, all books. Yeah, so you can see it's working. So we have our book. So you can see that from the author, what we selected. Okay. We are saying that we don't want the underscore ID for the book. So it's not there, right? And the author, it has populated whatever is inside. Okay. It has populated instead of just returning the ID, it's returning the user itself. Okay, that's the purpose of this. This thing over here. You get, yeah. I think that's the purpose of that. That's the purpose. And oh, sorry. So yeah, so over here to inside the populate, I think the second parameter it accepts is to select what you want, to select the properties you want to display if you are populating. So over here, I said I don't want the underscore ID. So it has taken it off. You see, yeah, it has taken it. So if you just specify that you want only email and first name, it will actually do that for you. Yes, so you only get email and first name. Yeah, so by default, ID is always there. So maybe I like to remove it so that left it only email and first name. Yeah, you get it. So yes, you can actually play around with all these things, this stuff. Yeah. Okay, so okay. So the populate. Okay, so what the populate does actually um is to what the populate does is to get a reference model, okay, and fetch the corresponding document that is that comes with it. So you can see from here, when we're creating a book, we just said the author should have this ID of the user we created over here. You get it? So looking at the book model, we just said the author should have the ID of the user. Okay. But in displaying all the books, we want to view everything. We don't just want to see the ID because of course maybe we are not going to use the ID to do anything, but we want to view all like the user's document inside the author because that's what we reference. So it's like this book actually belongs to this author and his name is Gospel. You get it? Yeah. So that's what the populate does. So the populate will actually go to the user model and anything. So it picks this as a foreign key. So this is like a foreign key, which is inside this model book schema. And we have, so so it does something like where maybe underscore ID in the user's model is equal to this auto ID. Then you just populate it with that data in the user's model. Do you get it? Yeah, that's what the populate does. That's what the populate does. Yeah. So I think they said I should round up in minutes. So we can also get all users. So we actually have only one user, right? So this is why we're getting this. Yeah, you can update user. So we'll have, so I would like to create another user. Yeah. You can actually, update a user. So in updating the user, you have to pass the user ID stated in the route. Okay. So maybe you want to update the email to be something like email@gmail.com. Yeah. So we can see according it's true. Okay, so yeah. So the reason why this is not actually returning is that from the update user this thing actually what it does is it will just update it and pass this update instead of returning the actual update. So if you really want to see what you are updating, you can do something like this so that it actually updates, what is actually there. So when you do something like this, you see, let me see, I think there's a mistake somewhere. That's a good. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it is updated. Okay, so I think this, well, it's not actually an update. Okay, it's like it is seeing it as a single property. So if you want to, since I'm doing this, I'm actually this rest is an object, okay, but I've also encircled it with curly bracket. So it's like object inside another object. So I have to spread it in order to receive each data. Okay. Yeah, so the same thing applies here. I think you can do this. Find by ID and update so that we can actually get the updated property and spread this. Yeah. So pass the updated book. Updated book. So let's just hit this last endpoint and I think we go. Yeah. Thank you. We can do this. Okay, so we can change maybe the book name can be something else. Can be Jack Sparrow. So we pass in the ID, right? So the ID of the book. Yeah, so we can get the ID of the book from the database. So we can look into the database and get the ID of the books. Or we could just erase this. So you can actually get the ID of the book. Yeah, you could just do this. Pass the ID of the book here. It's the same point. So you can see it is updated. Plus, it has also populated this. You get it? Yeah. So this is very interesting. Then lastly, you can just delete a user. Um, delete a user. So we can use this ID, pass it, and delete the user. Okay, it's hanging. So users control delete user. Yeah, so it is hanging because we have not actually retained anything. Yeah, document not found. Yeah, which is true, of course, because this function has already been called at first. So you can create another one here and delete it. Yeah, so user deleted. So if we watch the database, yeah, so we have CRUD MongoDB. This is our database that contains think the book document over here. And we also have our users document because one have been deleted. Yeah, so I think I'm done. Any question? Yeah, so I would have to push this so that I think let me push it and share the link right now before I forget. Yeah, think let me see. Can you guys hear me? Can anyone hear me? Yeah, okay, okay. So I do get it. Oh, Oh.
Okay, hello, Gospel. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah,
because we couldn't hear you.
oh, okay, sorry. Just wanted to think it's um, um, yeah, so I think I'll share the link with you guys. Yeah. So that's at least if you guys can go through your spare time, yeah, free. Yeah. Yeah, so this is my GitHub profile. I think can actually be look at some exciting Git repos that are uh, um, yeah, so I think we can call it a day. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gospel, for today's class. Wow, we're almost hitting 3 hours. I didn't see this coming. Thank you so much. Yeah, the students, they really enjoyed your class. You could see from the participation from the chat. Thank you for everyone that stayed till the end of this class. So guys, please, it is a must that you connect to God's Power via LinkedIn. So I sent the link on the chat. Please, everyone, please follow him on LinkedIn. And if you have more questions, or you have, as regards CRUD operations, if you have other questions as regards backend engineering, you can also reach out to him. So please, guys, give him a follow on via LinkedIn. So I copied the link again. So everyone, please make sure you give him a follow. Everyone connect with him. Thank you so much, Cospower, for today's class. Like, on behalf of Top University, we really appreciate. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you too. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Good night, everyone. Thank you all for staying to the end of today's class. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
At least you can also share the video with me, the recorded video.
Yes, I will do that, definitely. I'm going to make it available. So please, everyone, follow him via LinkedIn. I'm also going to make that available on Discord on your room. Thank you so much, guys. All right. Bye, guys. Bye, everyone.